All right, it's 2 minutes after 2 Central Time, and we have just about a little over 520 people on the call with us today. Thank you for joining. This is Carol Crone from the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. I'm the Senior Clinical Manager for the databases here at STS. This is our first monthly webinar that we're starting, and these were the pre-AQO webinars were in addition to these monthly webinars, which are starting now, November 6th. And the purpose of this webinar will be to give you some further information that we've talked about at AQO and the previous webinars regarding our transition to IQVIA. And as these monthly webinars continue, they'll be the first Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. Central. IQVIA will be the topic for November and December, probably January, and then we'll get into more clinical discussions for the data managers. So I just want to thank everybody for joining. And if you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A. I see a couple questions coming in that are about the call option. On the website, when you click the link to join, there should have been a phone number that you could have dialed into. So I would check back to the STS website for that. Okay, we're going to get started here. So today for the agenda, we're going to quick welcome and introduction, some housekeeping for adult cardiac, an overview of the data warehouse transition, an update from IQVIA, who is going to be our new data warehouse starting early January 2020. The next step for sites, some resources, and then open time for you to submit your questions and answers. And I ask if you submit your questions to the Q&A section, we'll be able to keep track of those, and then we'll be posting those questions online along with the recorded webinars for anybody who wasn't able to attend to view them. So just some housekeeping that to keep you up to date with the adult. Version 4.20, the data collection form was presented at AQO. I was hoping to have a draft copy up that was presented at AQO onto the STS website, but we did have a few changes that came out of AQO, so I wanted to make those changes, and I hope to get that posted within the next week or two. And then for the AQO post-meeting news, we will be I just want to let all the attendees on this call know, and whoever will be listening afterwards, the presentations from AQO, the slide sets from AQO will be posted along with all of the questions and answers, all of the questions that were submitted. The answers will be posted along with those as well. So you'll be able to access those if you were not able to attend the meeting, or if you submitted a question, your answer should be in there. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me. The November training manual, we always aim to have that posted by the 1st of the month, but we are trying to include the updates that came out of AQO. So I will plan to have it posted by Friday this week. And I just want to give everybody a heads up that the November training manual is going to be a little bit late, but it will have some good updates in it. So a quick overview for those that were not able to watch the first webinar. We will be transitioning our data warehousing from DCRI to IQVIA starting early January 2020 for the phase 1 go live. We'll be phasing in other portions updates as we go throughout the year, and making some transitions and changes and improvements as we get feedback from you all on the dashboard reporting and the DQRs and the uploader process. And then DCRI will still continue performing risk-adjusted analysis, so they'll be performing all of the risk adjustment and then sending the data back to IQVIA. Your vendors are not going away, and this was all covered. A real in-depth overview of the transition was recovered in the first webinars. If you have not watched them yet, you could find them at the link here, and they're on the STS Live webinar page. So I just want to hand it over now. I have Tone Sutherland on the phone from IQVIA, and I wanted to hand it over to Tone.
Great, thanks so much, Carol. And for those of you who I have not met yet, so I'm the program director at IQVIA over this implementation. So my team is solely focused on the implementation, has been for several months. I've been working with STS in lockstep. Some of you I met at AQO the other week. So certainly excited to continue the conversation. So I wanted to talk to you about user roles and about IT department considerations today. And this is the first of some information that will come. So we're a little high level at this point, but we will be drilling into more details on these as we move closer to our go live date. So IQVIA we use a role-based access control model. This is actually a pretty common model. That's just a fancy way of saying we have users that have different roles assigned to them. User accounts have different roles assigned to them that allows them or disallows them from doing certain things within the system. So again, common platform that's used in many different models. It's not exactly what you use today. While you do have accounts that operate in different roles, they're spread across different systems, right? So the difference is that you're coming to one system now using one account that has different roles assigned to it. In terms of which roles will be available when, so we're phasing these out. So we have several roles, but we're only going live with 3 roles for the initial release in January. Carol mentioned that we will be adding additional features and functionality as we move into phase 2 and phase 3 into mid-next year, early and mid-next year. We'll add additional roles to support those as well. So for our go live in January, we're looking at the uploader role, the surgeon reviewer role, and the reports viewer role. And something you can begin to think about is who in your system will act in each of these roles. And if you go to the next slide, Carol, we have some of the we have the roles listed out that will be available at go live. And you can see in the left-hand column, current STS role name is the role name that's actually stored in the participant ID database. So this is a term that you all should be familiar with when STS asks you for who your primary data and file contact is, or your backup data and file contact. So these are the roles that are used today. The second column, STS IQVIA standard role name, are the roles that we have set up in the IQVIA registry platform. And then the access level indicates, what level of access, read-only or read-write. And then the example users on the right has real-world examples of who would use those. One thing to note here is that if you look at the second column, surgeon reviewer maps to surgeon representative and participant surgeon in the first 2 rows. And then uploader maps to both primary and backup data and file contact. Report viewer maps to the 2 on the left there as well, DQR recipient and the national report recipient. So we've consolidated some of them just to streamline the use of the system. And just want to reiterate again, we will have additional roles for additional features and functionalities as we roll out subsequent releases of the product. Next slide. So IT department considerations. We heard loud and clearly at AQO, and this is something we anticipate as well through a transition like this, that your IT departments want to understand a bit more about what the security is of the new platform. So we have a dossier or a security document available. That is available only upon request. We do not post that publicly, but if you need a copy, we can share a copy with you. Just email stsdb@sts.org. This is the same email address that we've been communicating to use for general inquiries as well. So just drop an email there. And we'll get a copy of that over to you. And then if you have any further questions, we can certainly entertain and work through those with you. Ensure that STS tech support at IQVIA.com is whitelisted in your IT department's security rules. This is what we will use from IQVIA to communicate with you for things like forgot passwords or other tech support related issues. So, we don't want that going into your junk mail folders, but we also don't want that email to be blocked altogether. So work with your IT department, ask them what they need to do to get that email address whitelisted. And just a note here that this is our tech support email. It's not quote unquote open for business yet. You can send an email to that email address, but you will not get a response until we transition over to we're formally live and or closer to the go live date when we formally open up our support. Just continue, if you have questions, continue to send them to the STS email address. We are, we're on the phone with the STS team pretty much every day. So we've gotten a lot of your messages that you sent to that address, and we'll continue to. So please continue to use that for communication purposes. Wait, if we can go back real quick, just in terms of messaging to your IT department, just some ideas, to communicate to your department that you will be using the same vendor software, so your vendor software is not going away. That shouldn't change. One of the goals of the transition is to keep the data submission experience, not to disrupt that, to make that transition seamless. We are adding some additional features and functions on top of the previous experience, but at a bare minimum, you should have the same experience using the vendor software and submitting data as a baseline. You can communicate to your IT department that you will be submitting data to a new platform. They'll probably be interested in that, right? And then ask the question, what, if any, requirements or what policies do we have, does our site have in place for this type of change, right? And they may say, well, we need to understand the security. And then you say, great, let me get you the security dossier. And then carry the conversation from there. So go ahead and engage now. Ask the question. We want to work with you to be prepared for the change so that we don't have any surprises later. Next slide. And the last slide I have just lists the different browsers that we support. This was information that was also communicated at AQO. Not much to explain here, Windows, Mac, and then tablet devices. The action on your side from the data manager perspective is to look at whether or not your current environment leverages one of these browsers, and if they don't, engage with your IT department to ask, how can we switch to one of these versions to ensure we're compliant and ready to submit data successfully. So with that wraps up my piece. I'll hand it back over to you, Carol, to carry us through the rest.
Great, Tone, thank you. So the next slide is just another recap of what do you need to do prior to our go live on 2020, and I think this is probably going to be an important slide for you. So we will post the webinars online, and you could refer back to this. If you need to get slides for presentations at your hospital or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me and I will give you my contact information. The contact information will be provided at the end of the webinar. So next steps for you is you want to download all of your national reports from the DCRI portal. These reports will be transferred over to IQVIA. We will have a place to house them, but you're going to want to download them in the transition just so you have easy access to them and you don't have to go through a request. And as we're doing this transition, it might take a little bit for us to get to that request and pull up your historical report. So you will want to download all of your national reports from the DCRI portal. You're going to want to update your contact information, make sure it's correct with STS, because that's the email information that we will use to send you information regarding the login and passwords for your new accounts with IQVIA to do the upload or dashboard access and your DQRs. The link for that is on the bottom of the screen. You want to verify your browser compatibility with the slide that Tone had just shown. You want to identify your user roles with one of the previous slides and identify who will have those roles. When we get to the point with IQVIA that we're going to then assign those roles, you'll be ready to go and you'll know who should be assigned what. And then let your IT department know, as what Tone just said, regarding the transition and that you'll be on a new platform. We've been getting a lot of questions about contracts, and that's great. So we all wanted to make sure we were giving out consistent information about your contracts. A lot of questions are coming in about what about contracts? Do I need a new contract? Is our contract still valid? Do I need a contract with IQVIA? So to answer your question, all the questions that we were getting in, your site is contracted with STS. There are 2 contracts for each database. You have a participant agreement, and then you have a business associate contract and a data use agreement, which are typically called the BAC and the DUA. These are HIPAA mandated contracts. They contain legal language that allow you to upload your data to whomever we have chosen as the data analytics center, and I'll get to that in a second. It allows for you to send PHI to us. It allows STS to generate reports, and it allows STS to use it for certain purposes related to quality improvement and research. And when we use it for quality improvement and research issues, those are all de-identified. So you do not need a new contract with STS or with IQVIA. Your current contracts are flexible. They are related to STS and who STS uses for the data warehouse and analytics. You've already agreed to submit your data to whoever STS is using for those services. Under your participant agreement, it states current independent data warehouse service provider and any future data warehouse service provider. And in the BAC DUA, it contains language that says any subcontractor to whom we provide, meaning STS, provides PHI to. In certain places, we do mention DCRI within that contract, but we refer to DCRI as the current independent data warehouse, or we include language that says including but not limited to DCRI, and none of the language is inconsistent with using another entity as a service provider. Now, what about PHI and HIPAA compliance? And I spelled HIPAA wrong, I apologize. PHI and HIPAA. IQVIA is not replacing DCRI. DCRI is going to remain the analytics center for STS, and IQVIA and DCRI will exchange PHI between one another. HIPAA states that STS is your business associate. Any subcontractor with whom we share your PHI, DCRI, and IQVIA is our sub-business associate. Both the statute and contracts you have with STS require that we, STS, sign a HIPAA-compliant sub-business associate agreement, which is a sub-BAA, with each of them. And you can rest assured that we have already signed such sub-BAA with both DCRI and IQVIA. So how are we going to get you the information you need? We'll be sending out emails, so that's why we need to make sure that we have the right emails on file for everybody. Oftentimes when we send out emails, they end up in the spam folder or they don't get through the firewall at your institution. So it's important to whitelist these 3 email addresses here, the stsupport@iqvia.com, which will be the email you'll use to submit questions once IQVIA begins being the data warehouse in January. You'll need to, and then the domain's sts.org. So stsdb@sts.org and stsheadquarters@sts.org are 2 emails that we send through STS. At times, we also use a third-party service called Click Dimensions, and you should also whitelist, have your IT department whitelist mail.clickdimensions.com. Again, all of this information will be provided in the recorded webinars, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Here's my name, my phone number, and email address, and then stsdb@sts.org is a general email that we monitor here, and we kind of farm out the questions to whomever they need to go to, but either email address is okay for questions. And now it's time for you to ask questions, and we're happy to answer. Please submit them using the Q&A, and I'll read through them. We'll get you answers either from Tone at IQVIA or one of his support people at IQVIA, or here at STS, Donna, myself, Leanne, and Susan are on the line, so we can answer, and Jane is on the line, so we can answer your questions as well. So I'm going to start reading here. We have a couple in the queue. And if you're submitting questions in the chat, it's really hard we would like to download the questions, and then once we download them, we type in the answers and we post them online with the recorded webinar, so you could have those in writing if you need to refer to them later on. So it's really nice if you'd be able to submit your questions in the Q&A instead of using the chat box. The first question is from Darlene, and it says, will these slides be available separately from the recorded webinar for ongoing reference and review? And yes, if you'd like to have these slides, they will not be posted, but please feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to forward them over to you. The next question, do we have any information at all yet that we can use to start planning for the IRP and to confirm, I'm sorry, one second. Do we have any information yet at all that we could use to start planning for the IRP and to confirm the go live date for IRP is 1/1/20? And Donna, did you want to take that one?
Well, the platform is, we just went through all of the things that you need to do to get ready, define your roles. You'll be getting usernames and passwords. You'll still be submitting the data via your vendor software. So I'm not sure if I'm answering the question. And yes, we're planning to go live on January 1st.
Great, thank you, Donna.
And this is Tom. We will have additional information coming. So this is, we're doing webinars in December as well, and we're putting together training and education. So we'll have additional details and tools for you to use. So stay tuned and follow the communication.
Great, thank you. Next question, can you describe the process that will be used for DCRI to access the data to do analysis from IQVIA? I think we can talk about that a little bit. This was really addressed on the last webinar as well, so you may want to watch that webinar. Tony, do you want to talk a little bit about this, or
Sure. So there's a bidirectional data exchange we're setting up with DCRI. So the system that you as data managers will interact with is IQVIA, and then DCRI is the analytics engine for risk adjustment that kind of happens in the background. So that's the way that flows.
Great, thank you. Next question, when will the draft data collection form for version 2020 be posted online? Will it be posted in the ACSD data collection page? I just finished a conversation with one of the surgeon leaders today, and I hope to get those changes made by the end of the week, and I hope to have it posted to the data collection page where you access the data collection resources by the end of next week. It will have its own new tab, version 4.20. It will be a draft data collection form. It is not final. When it is final, I will let everybody know, and we'll talk about it further on the webinars, on the upcoming webinars, but a draft data collection form should be available by the end of next week. Next question, is it one person per role for IQVIA?
So I can take this one. Carol, if I understand the question, it's about the user roles and how those are set up. So it's one person per user account, and that user accounts can have multiple roles assigned to it. And the table in the slides, which will be available later as well, show what we'll have, the roles that we'll have available for those user accounts that go live.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tone. Next question, to whom do we send our user role information to? Is there a link on the STS website? So right now we are not collecting user role information. This is something that you need to start thinking about, because in the coming weeks we will be sending sites information to identify those roles, and that those emails will be coming from the STS email address that I suggested you have whitelisted. Tone, did you have anything to add to that? I'm not sure the exact time frame yet when we'll be.
Yes, I think what's important is to ensure, so Carol, you mentioned earlier to ensure your contact information is updated. So this is where we're pulling the users from. So we're taking what you have in place today and we're mapping it to the new system. So from your standpoint, the action to take now is to make sure all of your contact information is correct for the different users you have set up with STS, and then we'll migrate those over, and then we'll send out communication closer to go live with actual user accounts and initial passwords and directions to change your password and all that.
Great, thanks for the additional clarity. Next question, we currently remove any patient identifiers upon submitting harvest. Will this process continue in regard to the transition IQVIA? You can continue submitting what you're submitting. If it's your site's policy that you do not submit PHI, then you would still continue doing that. You may receive some information saying, hey, these fields weren't filled out, but your data should still go through okay. The next question, what does it mean to whitelist the email? Not sure I understand that. Tone, would you like to answer that question?
Sure. So whitelist means that, so what a lot of IT departments will do is they will only allow certain emails from certain domains to come through. So they have what would be called like a safe list. So maybe your Gmails and your Yahoos and your other organizations that organization may work with would be allowed to come through, but certain email domains that are not known would be blacklisted. So to whitelist means to put that domain in the security rules to allow email traffic to come through.
Great, thank you. Next question was, can you repeat the last domain site you mentioned? And I just put up on the screen the sites that should be whitelisted at your institution, and then the clickdimensions.com address there. Next question, when will we be able to assign roles? And I think Tone just answered that. We don't have an exact date yet, but information will be coming to your sites to do that.
Well, and one point of clarification, so the way that question was asked made me think of something else as well. So the roles will be assigned based on how the users interact with the system today. So it's more of looking at, and I guess maybe that is the question, looking at who will operate in which role in your system, and is it the same people, or are you going to shift that around? So just to be clear, the roles will be the same. It's just mapping them into the new system, and then on your side, think about who at your site plays in that role.
Right. Great. Thank you. Thanks for that. Next question. How far back should we go to download our reports from DCRI? I suggest that you download all of your historical reports from DCRI. Donna, did you have any other thoughts on that, or do you agree?
I agree. Since DCRI will no longer be the warehousing the data, they are going to close that portal at some point. It might not be exactly on December 31st, but even though all of those historical reports will be archived at IQVIA, our new data warehouse, they won't be readily accessible in January. It will take some time for you to get them, so it's best for you to have them all now before that portal closes in case you need to look back at any of your historical reports.
Great, thank you. Next question, will there be provider level information on the dashboard as related to readmission rates, complications, etc.? To the go live with the dashboard, we'll have your site level information on the report, and I'm not sure that we're going to be able to sort by NPI. With the go live, that may be something we consider in the future. Tone, you could add anything to that if you'd like.
No, I have nothing to add. That's good.
Okay. Next question, you may have said this. Do we submit to Duke? Is the warehouse just changing? The warehouse is changing. You will no longer submit your data to Duke. Your data will get submitted to IQVIA. So that's why you'll need to set up your new roles. Those roles will be held at IQVIA. Your data will be submitted to IQVIA. Your data quality reports and your dashboards will all be held at IQVIA. DCRI or Duke will still be doing the risk adjustment, a risk analysis on your data. I suggest you go back if you have time to watch the pre-AQO webinar, and all of this was covered in more detail. If you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Okay, next question. Could you post the email address? And there you go. I just put the slide back up with my email address. Next question. With the current submission process, we upload a zip file. Will this be the same for the new platform, or will the data need to be in a different format? Tone?
So you will upload a DAT file. That should be the current process that the vendors submit to Duke today. So it will be the same DAT file that's submitted to Duke today. We'll accept in IQVIA.
Great, thank you. As a vendor, are there any changes we need to make to our application for IRP? Donna?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Next question. Could there be a checklist created to help us during this transition? There seems to be a lot to get finished. I am fearful a step will get missed.
Yes. Where we have a checklist. So some of this we've communicated today in slide format, but we'll have more detailed webinars along with checklists to share out as well. So, and I'll have other members of my team get involved to drill down into more of the details of that, so you'll have the right level of information that you need.
That's great. Thank you, Tom. Next question. Will we be able to extract raw data either via user interface and dashboard or SQL and patient level, at patient level?
So the answer is no at initial release. And we do have something called the data download report, which we can make available in a subsequent release, and it will give you the closest thing you'll be able to get to raw data. But it should be enough to work with the data. You can work with it in Excel or whatever other, if you wanted to load it up into your own database. I know some people like to do that. So there's an option for that, not available at Go Live, something that we can consider with SCS for a future release.
Great, thank you. Next question, is the Q4 that we are getting ready to send, which is the close date is November 22nd, will that now be reported back to us on the STS-DQRI harvest, I think it meant STS-DCRI harvest report that we are getting presently? So the harvest closes on November 22nd, that data will go into analysis, and those reports usually come out, I think it's the end of January. So Donna was, oops, sorry, I apologize.
Working with DCRI, oops, that's okay. We're working with DCRI to see how long they'll leave that report module open so that you'll get those PDF, you'll get them in the same format you've been getting them, which will be PDF. And we'll let you know when that DCRI portal closing date is set.
Great, and that's going to, just to clarify, that DCRI portal date will be sometime in early 2020 that it's set to close. So it's important for everybody to have their historical reports downloaded before January 2020. Next question, will the harvest procedure be different? The harvest procedure is going to be a little different, but at the site level, it should be the same. The only difference would be that you're uploading to IQVIA versus DCRI. You'll receive your data quality reports back in a different format. You'll receive them back within the dashboard portal, and you'll be able to drill down electronically within the dashboard to look at your DQRs and see what kind of feedback you're getting on that, so you can make changes then within your vendor software, and then you would re-upload the file, the same process you're doing now. And we will still have open submission for about 6 to 8 weeks for each harvest period. I hope that answered the question. Next question, did you decide how long the DCRI report page will be available? Our next submission, November, will not be back until after January 2020. The same question again, and sorry to re-answer it. It'll be open until sometime early 2020, so you could still be able to download those reports. Next question, additional information regarding the purpose of the various roles, specifically for surgeons, anesthesia, would be appreciated. I suspect our staff will want more defined information about the added responsibilities that will be expected of them if deemed a role.
Yep, that's good feedback. We'll take that back and incorporate that into future information we share.
Great, thanks, Tone. Next question, just to clarify, this transition starts on our October to December 2019 cases, Harvest 1 2020, correct? Yeah, so this transition will go live early January 2020. The Harvest 1 typically opens in December for adult cardiac. It will not open until January, and at that time you will then submit your data to IQVIA and not DCRI for that Harvest 1 2020. Next question, can you repeat that part about the security dossier? Do we need to reach out to you to get that, to pass that on to our security department? And the answer to that is yes. So the guidance here, oh, go ahead.
Well, so I was going to say the guidance here is to reach out to your security department or your IT department and inform them about the upcoming change and ask them what they need. And they may say, we need to understand the security of the system. And at that point, you would then request that from us. We can provide it to you. I mean, you could go ahead and ask for it ahead of time. But it might be better to understand, what your IT department's requirements are first.
Great, thank you. Next question, what will our current vendors need to submit to IQVIA? Tone, would you like to take that one?
So I'm not sure if I understand the question. In terms of data submission, it'll be the same as previous. Right. Yeah, I need more information to answer it.
Right, and we are currently working with all the vendors to make sure that we are able to accept the files that they they provide for the sites using the uploader testing that we're doing now.
Right. Yeah. So they shouldn't need to do anything. I mean, we've met with them at AQO face to face. We've have had other meetings with the vendors. So it shouldn't be any difference from the vendor standpoint of submitting files. Great.
Thank you. Next question. And this isn't related to the topic, but I can answer it. If we have a brand of valve that needs to be added to the data choices, where can that be sent? So we only update the valve list with each upgrade, and we reach out to all of the valve industry valve makers for their list before we start the upgrade, or before the upgrade goes live. We put in what valves they give us. If they don't give us a valve that's currently being approved by the FDA, for whatever reason they decide not to give it to us, then it doesn't go into that list. And you would have to choose other FDA approved or other non-FDA approved until the new version comes out. And I have a list of valves. I think one is the Inspiris that we're adding for the next upgrade as well. Next question, did I hear correctly that roles are restricted to one person? So I think the answer to that question is that one person will have a role. You could have more than one data abstractor at your site, but one person could only be assigned one role. Did I understand that correct, Tone?
So I think I would answer it slightly differently and say that one person is assigned to one user account and multiple roles can be assigned to that user account. So you could be an abstractor or an uploader and a report viewer, right? So you could be an abstractor as well as a report viewer role.
And you could have more than one abstractor and more than one report viewer at your site.
That's correct, and they would each have their own user accounts with the appropriate roles assigned to them.
Great, thank you. Next question. Right now, the contract form allows only one primary that receives the final report. Will this still apply? So right now, the national report recipient is not just automatically designated to the primary data contact. The site allows just one person to receive that final report. You will if you assign a contact dashboard access, a role that includes dashboard access, which I believe all of them will have read-only, at least read-only access, then they will be able to see the reports on the website. The PDF reports are going away for the national report, but the benchmark data will be updated on the dashboard, and you will still be able to download into Excel and PowerPoint. So you would still be able to put together your, similar to what the national report is now, you would be able to download all of that data still. Just you would have to do it in a different format per dashboard screen. The next question is, if we are the data manager for 3 sites within the same healthcare system, will we need to have 3 different passwords, or will we be able to enter one password as we do now? And Tone, did you want to take that one?
So I think it depends. I mean, can we? Yes. I think we just want to ensure that we're not violating any sort of, data security components, right? But yeah, I think we could. We'd want to work with SDS and make sure that that's being assigned out properly.
Okay. And right now we don't do that, Donna. Right now we have, under each healthcare system, we would have that person listed as having a specific role under that healthcare system.
I think in Tableau, we were able to do that so that if Jane Smith is at 3 hospitals, those 3 PIDs would be available to her on the dashboard. But let's take that offline and make sure that that will still be the case. But we'll try and minimize any hoops you have to jump through to get your work done, that's for sure.
Great, thank you. Next question, if the data collection is changing, how long do our vendors have to update? So the data collection isn't changing, and I apologize if I'm not understanding the question correctly. The data collection isn't changing. We have a new version for the adult cardiac upgrade, which is due to go live July 1st, and that's different. We'll give the vendors about 6 months to update the changes for that data collection form. But related to this change, there's no time limit here, I guess. I might not be understanding the question. If I am not, please provide clarity in the Q&A and I'll answer again.
Yeah, just I can kind of add to that too. So the format that you submit your files in today, so the DAT files that you submit through your vendor software today, and the structure in those files does not need to change. So we've set up a new system to receive that exact same format that you're submitting today to DCRI.
Great, thank you. Next question is, which roles will be able to access the quarterly quality reports? And that looks like that would be the data quality report recipient, which is the current role, and the STS IQVIA standard role name would be report viewer. And you would assign that to whomever needed to have that role. Is that correct, Tone?
Yeah, that's correct, assuming that's talking about the DQR, but yes.
Mm-hmm. So if the site wanted to have one person who was the uploader who also received the data quality report, they would need to assign that person to either be need to assign that person to be the uploader and report viewer, correct?
Correct. Yep,
okay,
correct.
Thank you. Next question, when will this webinar be posted on the STS website? Usually we get these up, this should be up by Friday. Usually within 48 hours we have them posted. And Rosemary, I will send you the slide deck. Next question, is there an expected increase in workload to data managers or assigned roles? It would be nice to know as an expected % increase that we should be preparing for, if anything. No, your increase of workload shouldn't change. You're going to have the same workload at your site.
Sorry.
Yeah. Right? Okay.
Well, we're hoping at some point it'll be less, but.
Yeah. And we're just hoping that the dashboard might take a little bit to get used to as you're using it, but it should make your job easier, not harder.
So I think one important point to call out here is the increase in validation. So we are adding some more strict validation rules, which may come into play here in terms of workload. So that's something to be aware of. And we'll have more guidance on like how to, when we go live, we'll have some recommendations on for instance, like submit, a file with 10 records and see what validation errors come back from that, work through those and submit a file with 50 records and so on. So we can kind of walk before we run in terms of adapting to the new system. So there are going to be increased validations. We'll have some scenarios that we'll outline to help better explain that as we move forward.
Okay, and April asked, can we see the slide about roles again? And I pasted it up there. And again, these slides will be available within the next 48 hours. The webinar will be posted. And if you need the live slides, feel free to reach out, or if you need the slide deck, feel free to reach out to me and I'll send it over. What about umbrella reports? Your umbrella reports aren't going to change. We'll still be able to send you an umbrella report. Donna, do you know, have we decided how those reports will be sent to sites? Will they be sent PDFs as they're getting them now, or will they be accessed?
We have not talked about access to those yet, so thanks for the heads up. We'll put it on our project list.
Thank you. Next question, can you please repeat when we should download our national reports? I suggest downloading your national reports by the end of the year. Next question, for a surgeon to receive the national report, do we need to add the national report recipient to their profile? And the answer to that question, I'm assuming, is yes. And Tona, I'll let you fill in there if I got that wrong.
No, that's right.
Okay, thank you. Next question, how close to the real time will the data on the dashboard be? As you provide the data as you upload your data, the dashboard should be, it's near real time, so it should be updated by the next morning. Next question, are you having any issues with any of the third-party vendors, such as Flumetics, with getting set up to receive files for harvest? I think we're still working on the user uploading process, and we will be testing out to make sure we're able to receive everybody's files from the vendors correctly. Tone, did you want to address that any further?
No, I think that covers it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question, will we still get a national report and a star rating? The national report, the PDFs are going away, so those reports will be, you'll see those as benchmark data, and you'll be able to filter on the dashboard related to quarters or years to look at the data for that period. And the star ratings will still be in some type of PDF or display screen on the dashboard that we are still finalizing with IQVIA on that. Next question, where do we find the pre-webinar? And I'll post the link. It's on the STS database website. If you click on the STS National Database page, you'll see it right there. Next question, start submitting to IQVIA when? January 1st. And the answer to that question is IQVIA was going live early part of January, I believe January 1st, and that's when you'll be able to submit to them. Is that date correct, or are we still, that sounds correct to me. Is that correct, Tone?
Yeah, that's what we're tracking towards. So we'll communicate all this. So you'll hear a lot more from us and from STS as we move closer. So it's not like we're going to go, into the dark and then everything is just going to work on January 1st and you're not going to hear any more information. But yes, that's what we're tracking towards.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think this is the website here for the National Database webinars. Next question, can you please put the slide up that had to do with the new contract information? Or do I need a new contract? And let me find that. That's the one, and these slides again will be posted in about 48 hours for you to view them. Next question, the next harvest is due November 22nd. Once the blackout period is over, do we follow the current process until January? So the blackout period after November 22nd, the harvest will close. The next time it will reopen will be in January, and that's when you'll start submitting data to IQVIA. Will be in January, and that will be the harvest one for 2020, which includes data through December 31st, 2019. It will close in mid-February. So you'll still have about 6 weeks.
Yeah. Oh. You can keep adding those cases, obviously, to your vendor software.
Next question, what do you mean we have to create new roles? So you'll have to assign, because all of your information that we currently have in our participant contact database will need to be connected to IQVIA. We have to assign, which this was currently housed, this database that we have all of our participant contact information was currently housed at DCRI. It's now going to be housed at STS, and we need to link it to IQVIA, so we need to assign folks roles that go in line with IQVIA's access. So you can get access to the dashboard, submit data, and get your data quality reports back. Next question, in addition to a checklist, could we get feedback on what has been completed or is still outstanding? And I apologize, I'm not sure I understand that question. IQVIA is going to put out a FAQ with frequently asked questions. These webinars are really helpful, and the Q&A is typed up in PDF so you can read it along or have it as printed out as reference. If I'm not understanding your question completely well, please feel free to email me so I can get you the right answer. Next question. Currently, we receive our national report. We additionally receive the slide sets for the presentations of our results. Will this practice continue? The pre-made PowerPoint slides are very appreciated. You'll be able to make this is not going to continue. The PDFs are going away. The PowerPoint slides that you receive are going away, but you'll be able to download your dashboard screens and what you filter on the dashboard. You'll be able to do that and download it into PowerPoint slides so it contains the information that you want and what's needed at your site. Again, the question is, will the reports look the same? And your dashboard is going to look different than what it looks like now. The PDF reports are going away, so that will be a change to get used to. Can you write down the closing dates for adult cardiac and thoracic? And this is posted online, and I'll be happy to provide that link. It's on the STS National Database page. Adult cardiac closes on November 22nd, and I don't have general thoracic handy, but I believe that they had just reopened, and I believe they close on December 1st. But I'll post that link online with these questions and answers. Next question, will we still be able to get physician MIPS, NQF data, and DQR from IQVIA and submit on their behalf through STS? And the answer is yes, we will still be submitting MIPS data to CMS through IQVIA. Next question, the dashboard does not reflect current reports. When can I expect date ranges to update? So I'm not sure if this is referring to the current dashboard that we have with the DCRI. The new dashboard with IQVIA will reflect current reports, and you could filter on the left-hand side of the screen when we get to showing you the dashboards more, which will be the December webinar and the January webinar. You'll be able to filter on the left-hand side of the screen to the current reporting period, so you could see what went into that national report. The next question, if the DCRI portal is closing early 2020, will the final report and star ratings for 2019 be available on IQVIA's dashboard? Well, final report and star ratings for 20. So this is going to be going to be Harvest 1. The star rating period is Harvest 1 2020. And again, this is going to be the report, the data that you submit to IQVIA starting in early January. And the report is usually released in April. So you'll be able to access that through the IQVIA dashboard. Next question, will you be sending out user manuals to walk us through the process of downloading data and using the dashboard? And we will be having live webinars, which will be recorded to go through all of that, how to download your data, how to use the dashboard, how to make reports, how to download things into Excel or PowerPoints. We'll be going through all of that in upcoming webinars. And I believe, IQVIA, Tone, did you have anything to add to that?
We'll provide documentation as well. So we're gonna kind of attack this in a multifaceted way, right? So yes, you'll have the information you need to understand how to use the new platform.
Yep, and we'll be here to, if you have any questions as you're getting used to the system, we'll be here to walk you through different phases. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help you with that. Next question, yep. Please post rather than require. Hold on. So, please post rather than require each email you separately to get a copy of this presentation. So STS will only allow us to post things in PDF format. It's, and sometimes we make changes to these slides throughout the presentations, and it's easier, I'll see if we can, but it's really easier if you could just email me, and I'll be happy to send it to you. Thank you. This recording, when will this recording be available, and when it'll be recorded and put up on the website by Friday? Next question, harvest October, November, December need to be submitted to IQVIA, not DCRI, and that doesn't start until 1/1/2020, correct? That's correct, and the submission date will be early January, and we'll keep sites updated with that date, so you know when it's coming. Will there be separate staff training on how to submit data via IQVIA? And yes, we're going to talk about the uploader function, how to upload your data to IQVIA on the December webinar. We'll also have a supplemental education on that. Next question, just to clarify, for those of us who submit monthly to do cleanup in a timely manner, we won't be able to submit until January, and that answer is yes. You'll be able to submit your data for Q4, starting in, you'll be able to submit the data, Harvest 4, which is data through September 30th. You'll submit that data, the close date is November 22nd. The next submission period will open early January, and you'll have about 6 weeks to submit data. So although you'll be short 4 weeks, you'll still have 6 weeks to submit data and clean it up for Harvest 1 close, which will be mid-February. Next question, will the statistics and graphs still be presented with 3-year trends and the full report able to be downloaded and saved off in PDF, Excel, etc.? And the answer to that question is you'll be able to filter your data according to the time frames that you want. And I do believe, Tone, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do allow them to do some trending, the 3 years worth of data. And I believe we can go up to 6 years worth of data. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you. Next question, will we be able to download the dashboard data without doing multiple downloads now that you are stopping the PDF? And the answer to that question, oh, I see what they're saying. So I don't know, Tone, will they be able to download all of the dashboard data at one time? I believe it will be per dashboard screen. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this gets into some specifics of how to interact with reports. So I think it kind of depends on what the expectations are. So stay tuned, and we'll have more detailed webinars and information about how to interact with the dashboard. It'll get you a more complete answer to that.
Great, thank you. Next question. Also, the current reports include all information needed for understanding the risk algorithms and has the adjusted risk factors and how to produce risk, all that, produce risk-adjusted results, et cetera, et cetera. We call it the preamble. Will that still be available on the dashboard? And the answer to that question is the report overview will still be available on the dashboard. It will be available in the document section. I don't know the exact name of that, where we'll house that on the dashboard. Do you know, Tone, if there's a name for that area? Or we'll talk more
not
about
offhand.
Yeah, it was either library or references, but there's definitely a section that'll include all of that information.
Yep, thank you. As the data manager over all 3 STS databases, will the webinar information presented for each CHSD, ACSD, and GTSD be the same, general questions aside? The slides will be identical. Do I need to attend all webinars? You're welcome to attend all webinars, Heidi. The information is going to be the same for most likely for November, December, and probably January. The February webinar for adult will get more into the upgrade for the version 4.20. Next question, just want to clarify, we won't be downloading a PDF report for our site. We will be downloading into Excel to receive report. Will the report still be calendar year updated by quarter? So the reports that you download will be according to how you set the parameters on your dashboard for that screen. So you'll be able to filter and you'll be able to state what time period you would like to see on the screen, and then you would be able to download that into Excel or to PowerPoint. You would be the one setting the time frame. Next question, I currently use the IQVIA software for heart failure. Will the STS, ACS, adult cardiac surgery look the same? And I apologize, I don't know what the heart failure screen looks like.
So So this is Tone. That's probably in reference to the American Heart Association Heart Failure Registry. So it's the same base product, but we have a separate implementation for SDS. So there may be some customizations where it differs slightly.
Great, thank you. Next question, will we receive notifications when dashboard STS rates are changed? So the dashboard changes as you enter in data, and then it will be updated with the benchmarked reports on a quarterly basis. And you would just have to log in and see those. I'm not sure that we would, I'm not sure that we've decided how to let sites know that the benchmark data has been updated, but that's probably something we should discuss and figure out how best to notify sites of that. So what they're asking, Tone, is when the benchmark reports come back from DCRI after DCRI does the analysis and sends it back to IQVIA, and then IQVIA updates the dashboard with that information, would we be able to let sites know that that update has occurred?
Right, it's like an alerts and notification use case. And so that brings up another point that we are, as we move forward in this, we are continually looking for your feedback on additional features and functions to add. So we're working with SDS to collect those ideas, to discuss them, to prioritize them. We recognize that there's some uniqueness in your workflows, especially per registry or per database. So we'll work with you and figure out what needs to be included in future releases.
Great, thank you. Did you say that there will be no report, only a dashboard? That's correct. The PDF report is going away. There will be a dashboard with the benchmark data updated in there real time as you're entering in data, and then updated quarterly with the benchmarks. The star rating reports, I believe, will still be posted in PDF format. Just the star ratings with the explanation of the star ratings, not the entire report that you're receiving now.
And so additionally, the dashboard can be used to export data in report format, right? So the change here, the difference here is that you have an interactive dashboard where you can shape the data by harvest date and other variables, and then you can create reports from that. So it's really trying to put more power in your hands to work with the data and produce variations on the report that you need.
Great, thank you. And then the next question is, can the DQR be downloaded into Excel file rather than working through it via the dashboard? And I don't know the answer to that one, Tone.
Yes, I am 99% sure it can be, yes. Okay, although one important call out here is there is some interactivity to the DQR, to the new DQR. So stay tuned for more information on that. So you may find that you don't need to download it, although, we respect that maybe you want to download it and work on it offline as well. So, so stay tuned and we'll share more yep.
Great, thank you. And right now we're at time, we're at 3 o'clock. I will continue, and Tone, are you able to stay on and continuing answering questions? We have about 43 still. Okay, so we'll continue on. Attendees are free to stay on with us. We're not going to hang up, and I know some people are hanging up now, but we're not going to hang up. If you'd like to stay on, please do, and we'll continue answering your questions. Can the DQR be downloaded into an Excel file rather than working through it via the dashboard? And Tone just answered that one. Next question. We still have immediate access to our risk-adjusted data through our current vendor, or only through the new IQVIA. So you don't have immediate access to your risk-adjusted data through so you do, your vendors are not going away. What they currently provide you is not changing. So if you're able to download your risk-adjusted data, or where the risk models are applied to your data, you'll still be able to do that through your vendor software. Next question. Should we plan on submitting cases in small amounts? And I think that that's a good idea, to start small and just make sure you can get used to the dashboard. Do not submit years worth of data. Just continue working with small amounts of data to begin with, see how the dashboard is working, see how the DQR is working, and get used to it. And I think that that would be probably the best way to go about getting started with it. And we can talk more about it on coming up webinars too. And then next question, I would be submitting my data for October and part of November and December to get my DQR. Can I still do that up to December 31st? And the answer is no, that you will not be able to submit data after the close on November 22nd. You will no longer be able to submit data until January when IQVIA will open, and then you'll be able to submit data to IQVIA. Next question, what is an umbrella report? An umbrella report is a report that includes information from multiple hospitals that all agree to an agreement, and it's designed usually at the higher level over a hospital system. Next question, will we be able to see all hospitals' data together on the dashboards? I think it'll be broken out. It depends on how your agreement reads, but if your hospital signs separate agreements, you will not be able to see all your hospital's data together on one dashboard. The hospitals wouldn't allow us to do that. Next question, can you please, okay, and anybody who's sending me their emails, I'll send you the slides. I have to work with our IT team and our webinar team folks to see if we can post the slides online with the webinars. That might be helpful. If I can do that, I will. Just to clarify, is it correct that our PDFs will no longer be provided and the information will be in the dashboard when we transition? And the answer to that is yes. Next question, how many years back should we be saving, and do we need just the national reports? And the answer to that is I would consider downloading all of your national reports and saving them. Can we still submit past cases corrections with Harvest? And the answer to that is yes. If you go back for, I believe it will be 6 years, is that right? So the last, if you have to go back to version 2.81 and make an update, you'll be able to make that change in your data on your vendor software, and you would still be able to submit that file to IQVIA. Prior to version 2.81, I don't believe would be accepted into the warehouse. Is that correct, Tone?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Next question. Did you say, I'm getting a lot of questions about the national reports going away and what's going to replace them. So the national report, the big PDF file that you get is going away. The report overview is not going away. That will be located in some type of library on your, when you log into your dashboard, there will be a library or something similar to that where you'll be able to access these types of static reports. So the report overview will be there, and then you'll be able to access your benchmark data on the dashboard. That is really not, next question, that is really not acceptable that we can't clean up or validate data until January. It puts a lot of pressure on data managers to learn the new process, validate, et cetera, in a 6 weeks window. Suggest the next harvest data gets postponed. So we can't postpone the next harvest data because that data is used for MIPS reporting. And previously we've only allowed 2 weeks to submit data. The open time frame to submit data is actually something new within the last year. And 6 weeks is, I understand what you're saying, and I can see how this, it seems like it's going to be frustrating for you. I can guarantee that we'll be here to help you, and we'll help you get through this. Hopefully the 6 week window will be enough time. I suggest submitting small files. When you are able to submit, start with small files so you can get used to the process, and then work through it from there and doing the DQRs and things like that. And as you get questions, reach out to us so we can help you. We don't want you to struggle. We want to be there to guide you through it and provide information to you and also get feedback from you so we know how to make the process better as we go along throughout the year. So although we will not be able to extend the window because of the MIPS reporting deadline, we can't open it sooner because we won't be ready to do it correctly any sooner than early January. We really want to make sure that you do get your data and you are able to clean it up, and we will be here to help you. So please reach out to us and give us feedback and let us know if you have questions. We can answer them for you. Next question, is there a schedule for these calls in 2020 so we could add them to the meeting calendar? They have been very helpful. I'm glad that they're helpful, and the adult cardiac calls will be the first Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. Central. The congenital calls are the first Thursday of every month at 2 p.m. Central, and the general thoracic calls are second Wednesday of the month, 1:30 Central. Next question, will the NQF portion of the report remain Yep, we'll still have all that information in there for you. Will we get where will we get the intro information? And I'm sorry, Karen, I don't know what you mean. If you could please submit another question. Next question, does IQVIA have a website with information that we can access? We'll have these live webinar slides posted, and we'll have additional webinars coming up. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to us. I'm not sure that IQVIA will have a website. I'm not sure what kind of information we'll be looking for on that website.
Yeah, really. I mean, we have obviously we have our IQVIA.com, and you can find out general information about the organization. But we're a fairly large organization, so all of the STS implementation materials are being provided with and through STS and STS.org.
Great, thank you. Next question, did I hear correctly that the star ratings are going away? No, the star ratings are not going away. You will still receive your star ratings. The PDF reports are going away. So you'll still receive your star ratings in a different way. It might be a PDF, but it's not going to be a big PDF like you're receiving now. Next question, will historical information be available on the new dashboard or only what we submit going forward? So the historical data will be up through 6 years, the last 2 versions.
Correct. And one other comment to that is that so all the data from the existing platform from DCRI will be stored at IQVIA for STS. The data that's being migrated into the new data structure is going back 2 versions, which is approximately 6 years, depending on when your versions were released.
Okay, thank you. It would really help to have 2019 year-end report be the same and use IQVIA for 2020 H2. So I don't think we can do that. Unfortunately, we won't be able to provide that because our contract ends with the DCRI to provide this service on December 31st. So Harvest 1 2020 will start with will be done with IQVIA. And the questions that I've already answered regarding PDFs, I'm not going to be, I'm just going to kind of skip over those and we'll answer, I think we've already answered those just so we can get to questions that we haven't answered already. Next question, will we eventually be able to directly download our data directly to IQVIA? And the answer to that is you'll be using your vendor file to submit to IQVIA. I think if I'm understanding that question correctly. Next question, what about data released to payers? Does that come from STS rather than DCRI? So the releases signed do not need to be renegotiated. I'm not sure what this is referring to. If you're talking about like the reports that go to Anthem, those reports will be still sent from Anthem, and that's something that we'll still be working out. I believe that all the analysis will be done at DCRI for those reports, and then we'll be sending them over to Anthem and to those that we have agreements with. Local and national benchmarks will still be available, so you'll still see your like groups and your STS groups on there. And Jane, I haven't seen the ACC and CDR dashboard, so I'm not sure that I can say that it's the same. But I'm going to skip over the dashboard questions because we're going to have more on that in the December webinar. And I think we'll be able to provide you more information. Next question, we harvest every 2 weeks while the window's open. After this next harvest, we will be able to continue. Will we be able to continue, or will we have to wait until January? The window is going to close on November 22nd and will reopen in early January. Next question, we do physician profile reports each February with surgeon-specific volumes and outcome data for the downloaded data from STS. Will we be able to extract data from IQVIA report? So you'll be able to pull out information, but I don't believe it'll be NPI level data, and I'm not sure how you're able to do that now in each of your reports with NPI level data. You're probably able to do this in your vendor software. Will G Suite work with these changes? Tone?
Not sure what that means. I mean, it's probably Google Suite or the Google tools, but I don't really understand the context. So please add more or ask again.
Okay, and we'll answer questions, I think, for just 3 more minutes until 3:15, and then the rest of the questions we have in, we'll answer in writing, so you'll have all those answers provided there. Next question, will we be able to download previous quarters into IQVIA if we have corrected cases? And the answer to that is yes, as long as it's within version 2.81 or version 2.9. Dashboard is updated as often as you submit data, and the benchmark data will be updated quarterly. When we submit data, is it live? How will we know what to clean up? So we'll go through this on the dashboard reporting and the data quality report usage when we get to the webinars in December. We'll talk more about that. They're asking, can the dashboard have an announcement area that can identify when the benchmarks were last updated, next update due, etc.? And I think that's something we can probably provide. Is that correct, Tone? When they log in on a splash screen, we'll be able to show them updates.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Will we still get ODE multipliers and benchmarks? Yes, you'll still get your benchmark data, and you'll still get the ODE multipliers will be updated in that report section. Okay, I think we're going to, I have one, we really need the whole report to be able to download in full. Same with DQR. We have to send full reports out, and to be able to do that in one step rather than all different reports in pieces. So we'll take that back and we'll talk with IQVIA and see how we can do that. Okay, I think we're going to end here, and then I'll answer the rest of the questions in writing. Tone, did you have anything you'd like to, anything final or?
Just that we're excited to continue to engage. I know there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of changes coming up, and just to echo what Carol had said earlier, we're here to support and help through the transition, and do this successfully and have it be successful for you. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and thanks, Tony. And we're excited for IQVIA to be on, and I'm excited to start these webinars with all of the databases. I hope that they're useful to everybody, and I appreciate folks who were able to join and who stayed on late to get answers to the questions. I'm going to try, I'll answer the questions that we weren't answered, and we'll PDF those and hope to get those up on the site by Friday or Monday. The slides should be available on Friday, and I will try to see if we can get the PDF slides posted as well. I look forward to everybody meeting everybody in the future on these calls, and if you have any questions, as always, you can feel free to reach out to me or reach out to the database general email, and I'd be happy to help you with anything you have questions with. So I hope you have a great day, and thanks again for joining, and thanks, Tone, and thanks, IQVIA, and thanks, Donna, and talk to everybody soon. Take care.